area, so don't forget to check it out. On the bottom of your screen, the man himself, Victor Vaca, is running this 6-month training course called Breaking Through Barriers. And I just, before we start, would just like to take a minute to introduce Victor Vaca. First of all, my name is Robin Phillips. I am a realtor here in Charleston, South Carolina. My husband and I, David Phillips, run a really big business here, and we're so excited to be part of Impact Worldwide. And I'm so excited that Victor Vaca was my coach, starting out in, well, not starting out, gosh, I was almost a $6 million producer when I had the privilege of coaching with Victor. So let me tell you a little bit about him so you can be just as excited about this class as I am. So Victor is a nationally recognized sales, leadership, and business coach, not just a real estate coach, people. He has leveraged his extensive background in high performance sales, recruiting, training. He has built 2 highly successful national real estate brokerages. He also owns 3 other businesses and is passionate about helping other business owners achieve their goals. Victor has performed more than 10,000 coaching sessions with CEOs, executives, and sales leaders in 3 countries over the last 8 years to either 2x or 4x their sales. He takes a holistic approach with his clients, and he's able to understand the processes, the systems, and then see the opportunities for immediate improvement using analytics and his keen business acumen. He has been an award-winning, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about his awards. And I know this is taking a minute, but this is really important so you know the caliber of person that you're speaking to or hearing from. Victor has been an award-winning manager, trainer, recruiter, executive. He has a unique focus, and you guys are going to see he has a unique focus on the psychology of success, and his deep understanding of how to raise awareness in others and achieving breakthrough results is just a testament to all of the success that he has had. He has a deep background on online lead conversion. He was responsible for the lead distribution of 10,000 sales leads a month and created training and coaching systems to help agents convert more than 20,000 internet closings. He is a John Maxwell certified coach. He has been an Inman keynote speaker. He has been featured in and interviewed by AG Beat magazine and is a leading mentor and sales trainer. He has been a keynote speaker for the International Leadership Conference for the top 40 most influential, profitable owners of global real estate brands. He is a DISC instructor, and guys, you are going to hear from him about the DISC profile at the end of this. He's certified in NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. He has a Bachelor of Science in Applied Psychology from Loyola in Chicago. He's been a national vice president. He launched realestate.com. He's been part of the launch of Lending Tree's Realty division. He has been the executive vice president, launching a luxury brokerage from a startup into 10 markets. And guys, he has been formulating elite coaching strategies and has accumulated, for sales teams, accumulated more than $300,000 per month in revenue. I cannot tell you how lucky I was to coach with Victor. I actually have, I think, 2 more pages of awards. I'm going to stop here because he's probably blushing by now. However, I will tell you that Victor moved the needle substantially in my business, and that testimonial is everything. When he chose to coach with me, and believe me, he chose to coach with me, not me choosing to coach with him, you had to have a minimum GCI of $500,000 to even be able to coach with him. So I am honored and blessed that he is here with us today. And Victor, I'm going to let you take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Robin. What an introduction. I forgot half of what you just said, but that's pretty cool. Thank you for that. Wow, that was nice. So guys, I'm super excited to be here, by the way. And I'm not sure how many people are on the call, but it'll be recorded, and hopefully we'll be able to, make sure that a lot of people get the opportunity to view this. But I really did want to just give you, let's bring it up to date to the present. So I'm very blessed and very honored. I coach the top 3% of NAR. So the teams that I coach currently are like agents that are the teams of, let's say, like 5 or 6 agents that are doing like 350 units a year. teams of 9 agents that are doing 600 units a year. The number one team in this state, in this state, in this state. So what's cool about this, and the reason I share that with you is important. So because I coach across the country and I'm coaching at the very highest level, what you're getting from what we're going to do together over the next 6 sessions, over the next 6 months, what you're going to get is you're going to get the best of the best. It's effectively like a mastermind mind share of every one of the top people that you can imagine in all different brands, right? From Berkshire to EXP to KW to, we can go on and on, right? So, and these, I mean, one of my clients is Santa Barbara, California, 500 million, in GCI. So I'm sorry, not GCI in volume, I apologize. GCI would be nice, right? But anyway, the point I'm getting at is that whether it's a very high-end market like that with fewer units, or it's a lower end market in terms of price point that have to do a lot of units in order to, earn the volume, we're going to have a cross section of all of that. So the way we put this together, and Robin, maybe at the end, what we can do, because there's going to be there's a thing that we're going to do at the end of the exercise, because we want to make sure we're implementing as well as just sharing information. So, because that's where the action, taking the action gets you the traction gets you momentum, and the momentum will give you the results you're looking for so you can smash through and crush your goals. So we'll end with that. But at the end, Robin, if you would, we'll take a few minutes to cover what we're going to do over the next 6 weeks. But in the meantime, the way I constructed the program, Robin and I discussed it. She spoke to a few top agents in her market in Charleston, South Carolina, and we came up with the bones, basically, of this. And that is the top things that I'm hearing or I get asked questions about all the time. So those are the 6 topics we're going to cover. This is what I spend time with, a lot of time with my team leaders and executive teams, et cetera, in terms of how to crack the code on these things. So I want to share that with you. The number one thing, though, guys, that underscores everything, including how do I get listings, lead generation, when do I hire my first buyer agent? How do I hire my first administrative assistant? How do I recruit? How do I retain? How do I train? How do I onboard, right, for the team leaders? There's a lot that goes into it. So I'm going to do the best I can to try to keep this in a condensed version so we can crush this over a 6 session period. So hopefully you guys will be tuned in for that. But today I want to cover mindset. The reason I'm covering mindset, I'm going to minimize this because I want my screen to be shared. So let me do this. All right, you guys should be able to see that now, right?
Yes.
All right, and we're going to go to slide share. We're going to start there. Okay. All right, after our brief delay, we're back on track. So, and now we'll launch. So anyway, guys, the reason I start with mindset is because that is what the underpinning of everything is. It's kind of like that old adage, if you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. Either way. And I find it's the number one hindrance of people achieving their goals. Sometimes they have the right strategies. Sometimes they're good at what they do. They have the right skill sets. It goes on, but somehow or another, it's not quite working, or it's hamstringed in some way, so it's not optimized. So we start with mindset because 95% of everything that you do in life is mindset. So the focus of this is how to overcome limiting beliefs and the psychology of winning. So why do salespeople fail to achieve their goals? Number one, limiting beliefs. So let's just take a second here. What are limiting beliefs and where do they come from? So looking at that, you'll find, I'll give you a super simple example. I'll give you one present and one past. So you were prospecting when you were new in the business and you got hung on a bunch of times. What happened is you got programmed, and we'll talk about how the programming works exactly, but you were programmed to say that the phone calls or the prospecting or the door knocking or the social interactions at a party in terms of asking somebody a question or being in real estate, some event happened. And so limiting beliefs were formed, and then through either spaced repetition, which means it happens over and over and over again, and then it clicks and you're now programmed, it's in your subconscious mind, which we'll talk about, or it's an event, something that's traumatic, like touching a hot stove. You don't have to touch a hot stove more than once to not want to touch it again. So the limiting beliefs come from those two places: spaced repetition or through a traumatic event. So if you really want to follow along, pay attention, and really get something out of this, I would suggest that if you're not driving, and you can replay this later, take your piece of paper and draw a circle around that. So just put a circle in the center. At the very top of that piece of paper, put like a crescent, almost like a crescent moon, almost like on the top of your head, almost kind of thing, because that's your conscious mind. It's very weak, and it's about 10% of your mind. However, it's discerning. It's where you make judgments. It's where you have critical thinking. It's frontal lobe, and where your decisions are made. This is where, for why you do what you do, right? This is the where for why you do what you do. So the conscious mind is 10% of it. So it's your five senses. And through these five senses, it comes into your conscious mind and you make a decision. I like this. I don't like this. It moves me toward pain, or it moves me, I'm not toward pain, moves me toward pleasure, or makes me move away from pain. So it's one of the two ways. It's a highly motivating part of your mind when you're very much engaged with making these decisions. The problem is, and this is what happens in life and in business, and you make a decision. Hey, I'm going to set my goal, and I'm going to do $15 million this year. I'm going to do $20 million, and for teams and super high performers, it maybe far greater numbers or far greater units. But the point I'm getting at is that your conscious mind, we make that decision, and then what happens? We go after it. We're like, all right, now I'm going to make 100 cold calls a day. I'm going to get myself on a dialer. I'm going to go knock on doors. I'm going to call my sphere of influence. I'm going to study my scripting. I'm going to do, and you've got to dial. Hey, consciously, it makes all the sense in the world. So why didn't it work? The reason why it didn't work is because you have a framework around the limiting beliefs, and you're bought into them. We all are. We all have them. It's not like anybody escapes them. Nobody on the planet that's a human being ever escapes limiting beliefs, right? We just have to be aware of them so we know how to reprogram. And so here's the subconscious mind that's 90% of the programming that runs our lives. This is what keeps our heart beating. This is all of our involuntary reflexes and responses, what keep us breathing when we're sleeping. So our conscious mind goes out, and our subconscious mind is really running the show all the time. So you've got 90%. You got the conscious mind that's like an ego. It's like, it thinks it's this like massive animal, and it's really just like a little lapdog, right? Your ego, it's much bigger than it actually is. It's much bigger in your mind than it actually is, because the subconscious mind actually runs it. So the key is, where most people I find that I work with, whether it's organizations or teams or individuals, is that we're spending all the time with our conscious mind, but we're missing out on what's driving the bus, what's making you do what you do. So we'll talk about the subconscious mind and how to reprogram that. So 90%, all of the beliefs that are held here, these are the programs you run, and this is why you do what you do. So a really great example of the subconscious experience would be that driving a car. So the first time you go to drive a car, especially if it was what they called a standard or a manual, but stick shift is what we called it back where I come from in Chicago. And but in terms of driving that, you've got the clutch, you've got this, the gear shift, you've got lights, you've got dashboard, your things, air conditioner. Where's the defroster? In Chicago, that was important, right? How do you do that? Because it's 12 degrees below zero and a 90 below wind chill factor, and I can't see. So you had to kind of learn all of this. And how do you do it? And making sure you understand all the traffic signals, and you're yielding, and you're paying attention to what's going on. There's so much happening when you first start driving, staying on the road. It goes on and on, obeying the traffic laws. So it's very conscious, which is very important, right? It's very conscious. But then what happens is, as you do this over and over and over and over again, you programmed your mind. The subconscious, again, either through traumatic event, or or consecutively this happened, repetition over and over again, it gets pounded down into the subconscious. Boom. Now, here's the interesting part. The subconscious mind has no way to discern whether this is good for you or bad for you. Well, would this serve you or not serve you? Is it healthy or unhealthy? Is it going to help you achieve your goals or not achieve your goals? Subconscious mind has no way to discern any of that. That's where it happens in the conscious mind. So it's very important that we're aware of what we're putting in, because that's what we're going to program. So back to the car example, once that is pounded into us, this is the question. How many people here are subconsciously driving their car when they're on their phone, talking to their client that's a seller or the client that's a buyer, or negotiating an offer, whatever it might be? And then you pass up 5 exits. And then you look and go, well, how the heck did I get there? Who was driving the car past those 5 exits? You follow what's going on? Your subconscious mind already is programmed to look for everything. Is there danger? Are there traffic lights? Is there somebody coming into my lane? All of the things that you consciously were paying attention to that is now wired. Really interesting. So think about that one. There's a lot of examples, but I think that's a pretty good one. All right. So we go from the conscious to pounding it into the subconscious, this emotion. So the way that the subconscious mind expresses itself is that it has to go through to convert this new belief, which, by the way, the belief in the subconscious mind rearranges the furniture to accommodate the new belief. So we learned prospecting, for example, we don't like it. Okay. That we decided, for example, it's painful. Okay. So the conscious mind, the subconscious mind doesn't say, well, gosh, if, Victor doesn't like the, prospecting, he's really probably not going to achieve his goal. Subconscious mind goes, no, Victor said no prospecting. So the conscious mind is saying, no, we're going to prospect. But subconscious limiting belief that's programmed, that's where the power and the strength are, it's saying we're not prospecting. So you're white knuckling it, fighting this all the time. You're kind of fighting yourself. It's like shoveling sand against the tide. You can keep shoveling and the waves just keep coming in. So it's another good, sort of a visual is, this conscious mind is the shovel in the sand, and the subconscious mind is the waves and the weight coming in. So the only way that, now we've got this new belief, the only way it can be expressed out of the subconscious mind is into a vibrational frequency that is emotion. That emotion creates an action or an inaction, but based on the belief. So if the belief requires an action to be taken, you'll take it because it's a program. You're literally just following it like it's a CPU command. If it's based on don't do something because it's dangerous or whatever, then you won't. So you can kind of see, going back to the prospecting example, it's just a simple one and is relevant to everybody here in terms of lead generation for their businesses. But on the inaction side of it, well, I really think prospecting is super painful, and I can really try, and I'm going to make my X amount of calls, or I'm going to do, X, Y, and Z in terms of what I want to do on this. But it just, I don't really want to do it. So it's going to be a very short-lived idea. So another really good way to look at it is weight loss. So I want to lose weight, conscious. Subconscious mind, love nachos and margaritas at 9 o'clock at night. So we say, don't really like exercise because we already have that program running too. So now we go, okay, I'm going to lose weight, whatever that is. Anybody ever try to fit into a wedding dress or bridesmaid's dress or whatever it might be, and say, okay, so I'm going to lose 10 pounds to do that. Great. Well, if you ever kind of study this, that goal, New Year's resolutions and losing weight and whatever it might be, that goal lasts somewhere between 30 seconds and 30 days, generally speaking, before you can only fight the limiting beliefs. You can only fight that so long before you just give in, because the subconscious mind is running the show, and the conscious mind has no way to overcome that. We have to reprogram. So I'll give you an example, and I'm talking about even people when you stack leverage. Back in the days when I was built Lending Tree out nationally, there was one of the directors or VPs, And she was so intense on this, like it was a J-Lo or somebody that was on this like cleanse of like cayenne pepper and lemon and some sort of sugar syrup, or I don't know. That's what you do for 20 days. She was going around for literally like weeks. And she was begging everyone, please come, join me in this, join me in this. We finally, like, she was like, I'll bring it for everybody. I mean, she went and spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars, brought all these containers in for everybody. And the funniest thing ever is like, this is somebody that had massive action. She put her neck on the line. She was going to be accountable. I mean, she did all the things that you would think to do that are right. She came into the office to an executive suite later that day, and she looked white as a ghost. And we just looked at her and she goes, let's go to Five Guys for lunch. Now, we're not supposed to eat for 20 or 30 days or 20 days. I think it was 20 days. We're not supposed to eat for 20 days. We're supposed to drink this concocted liquid, whatever it was. And everybody was actually okay. And she was the one that fell out. That is a really good example of how powerful the subconscious mind is. No matter how much leverage she stacked consciously, it still didn't work. So hopefully that you can interpret that into your business and your lives of like, why do I do what I do? You're learning, or it's reinforcing what you already know. So then we move that from that emotion into an action or an inaction, and then we move that into a behavior. So the behavior is what we have. Take consistent behavior, we end up with results. Okay. So if we were live, I would ask you the questions. So I'll have to make it rhetorical here, but well, we're live, but I mean, if we were together, and I would ask you, so if you're going to go through, if you want to change something in your business or in your life, from conscious all the way down the tree to results, all the way down river to results, where do you start? So a lot of times when I'll do coaching with, executive teams, they'll say right here, or they'll back up to behavior. We need to put KPIs in place. We have to monitor their behavior. We have to make sure they're doing this. We'll make sure they're doing that, and just hammer, double down on it. We're going to get better scripts. We're going to have better goal setting, right? We're going to put minimum, standards in place. If they don't, they're out, or they're going to be on a probationary program, whatever it might be. All of these external ways to go about it, external strategies, extremely ineffective. If you remember, if we start all the way back to the top, to the conscious mind, we have to come up with a new set of rules for ourselves that we reprogram from our conscious, pound into our subconscious through spaced repetition, because hopefully what we're doing is not going to be traumatic. That is not the goal, right? We want to just make very intelligent, cognizant decisions to say, hey, this is going to serve us. And we're going to do that right here today. But this is going to serve us. And I'm going to reprogram my mind. And once you get that into, and it takes about 30 days to do, but once we reprogram your mind, all of a sudden, everything works together. So in order to change the results you're getting, you have to go back to the top of the river and start with the conscious mind, how we're going to program that into the subconscious mind all the way down to results. So you change the outcome. So how do we make lasting change in our lives and achieve our goals? Great question. We have to start with our thinking, as we were just talking about, and reprogram our minds. So again, just to recap, the five senses is how it starts. And then and this is how we experience the world. Conscious. I'm putting it all on one screen now instead of separate screens, right? But it's conscious, subconscious, action, behavior, results. So if we go back to that, the reason I waited to this slide, because I wanted you to have everything in one place. If we go back to that circle, I was saying that if anybody who chose to draw this, that crescent moon at the top of the cranium here, or the circle, is your conscious, right? And that's like a 10% crescent. The subconscious mind is the major part of it. It's like 90, really the rest of it. And inside of that subconscious mind, we move to action, behavior, and results. So you can kind of go conscious crescent, subconscious large part of the circle or your head, And then you're going to have aligned to action, aligned to behavior, and aligned to results. And the way we change it is to start back at the top. So this is interesting. What I don't have on this screen, Shine shows that we have 400,000 negative thoughts a day. Think about that. You're programming yourself. Your program is running. This is your subconscious mind, by the way. But your subconscious mind is running 400,000 negative thoughts a day. Some conscious, but mostly subconscious. Some conscious mind, but mostly unconscious or subconscious. So that's 400,000 a day. The other thing is your conscious mind, to show you how weak it is, it can only do like 2 things at a time. Really, it's kind of like that rubbing your head and rubbing your tummy thing you did as kids. Some people can do it, some people can't, but it's hard. It's not easy. And your conscious mind can only process about 20,000 bits per minute. Your subconscious is that's how weak it is. Your subconscious mind can process 20 million bits per minute. It's like a supercomputer. So you kind of see, like, if we're focusing all our time on the weakest part of our brain, that's why we're struggling. That's why we're frustrated and not achieving the goals, or maybe achieving the goals, but it's way too hard. And you had to exhaust yourself, kill yourself, work 7 days a week, work 14 hours a day. Not necessary, guys. Let's work smarter. And we're going to use science to do it. So how do we overcome it? How do we overcome it? We're going to reprogram your mind. So here's NLP, the neuro-linguistics programming. These are probably the 3 biggest words I believe, in NLP that will help you reprogram and that will help you change your thinking, which will help you change the whole, dichotomy, or not dichotomy, but the whole downriver experience down to results. And that is act as if. This is really important. I want to double check something. This is really important because the acting as if, so when you are thinking, and we're going to reprogram mind, your conscious mind can only operate in the present, which means as if it already happened. Here's what your mind cannot do. It cannot operate in the future, and it cannot operate in the past. It can't. And I'll give you an example of that in a minute. But the idea is the act as if you already have what you want. Now, some of you may have heard that before, but this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where the action, the execution, the implementation make all the difference. It's not about more information. It's about taking massive action with quality key information that you have. And that's going to get you much farther than it will to have tons of information and take no action. It could be the best information on the planet. If you're not doing anything with it, it's really kind of a waste. So a couple things we can do. And we're getting to the, sort of the close of this, and then we'll have a Q&A for anybody that would like to ask questions, like rapid fire to the coach. It's totally fine. I'm looking forward to it if you'd like. But the idea is that, how do we do this? And I've done this with hundreds and hundreds of people very effectively. So how do we do this? In the morning or the evening, whichever works best for your schedule, we have to start with gratitude. Now, that sounds cliche. It sounds kind of, I don't know, passe almost, like I'm grateful for, having a roof over my head. Okay, I need to go sell 5 houses tomorrow, right? Or today. So we don't want to do that, because here's what's interesting. And I'm going to give you this example. So radio frequency, even with, XM and all that today, but even back in the day, the transistor radio, when you're turning the dial, you actually are changing stations. But what you're actually doing is changing frequencies. The different frequencies that you tune into is what you receive. So if we're on a low level frequency with a lot of limiting beliefs and we're on 89.9, guess what? That's what you're tuned into, subconsciously programmed to do, and that's what you pick up. That's the radio transmission that happens in your brain. And that's where you get stuck. And you don't know why. And you're frustrated. And how come you can't get it your way? How come things aren't working out? How come this person has what you want, but you don't have it? What's wrong with you? I mean, you're saying this to yourself. I'm not asking you what's wrong with you. Nothing's wrong with you. We just need to retune and reprogram. So this is just being, just using some quality strategies to do that. So the idea would be that we want to turn that up to 107.9. We start getting to a very high frequency. All of a sudden, what happens, literally radio airwaves, I mean, they're invisible, but they're real, just like microwaves and all kinds of things. But radio airwaves, all of a sudden, you're tuned into a much higher frequency. And guess who's tuned in the higher frequency? Top producers, not just in real estate, in the world. That's where the top minds are. That's where Elon Musk is, right? That's where all of the great people that are entrepreneurs and build great things, and not just that many, the hundreds of thousands of people that are really at the top 1%, top 1/10 of 1% in the world. That's the frequency they're tuned into. So when you tune into that frequency, you tuned into their channel. You're in great company, guys. And all of a sudden, you start attracting into your life the same things they attract into their life. It'll look different for sure, but what I'm getting at is that when you really elevate, kind of elevate your game, level up your frequency, you're going to see tremendous results. And this is the difference between abundance and scarcity. And what you focus on or what you tune into is what you attract. Okay. So here's the exercise at the end of the program. Then we'll cover the program for this session. I should say not the program, but the session, the exercise, because I'm trying to, this is usually like a half-day presentation where we do a lot of stuff, but I wanted to condense this down and get it to you in as simple as a format as I can. So how do we shatter and reprogram our limiting beliefs? Okay, number one, identify and write out your limiting beliefs. I would encourage you, if you have the minute to do it, take action now. Even if you're not positively sure, write out what you think they might be. Here's a question I love to ask, because people say, well, I don't really know. And my question back to you is, well, if you knew, what might it be? Your brain has the answer. We just have to ask it the right questions. But going back to the, I'll give you a real life example right now. But here's the thought. I can't get listings for a variety of reasons. Doesn't matter why. We're just going to say I can't get listings. Nobody's selling. They want to sell, but they don't know where to go. They can't buy. I have a lot of people that want to sell, but they can't buy. So I can't do anything. I'm stuck. Okay. You think that might be a problem? When we're in the business of helping people sell and buy real estate, it's a serious problem and a very expensive problem, but it doesn't have to be the case. So what we have to do is we identify the belief limiting. Okay, great. Now we're going to write an affirmation that rewires and reprograms your brain with the new belief to attract the listings into your life. I'm paraphrasing that second line, right? But that's the reality, guys. So here's how we do it. Remember when we talked about it? Line 3, you have to write your affirmation in the present tense as if you already have this. Okay, so let's talk about what that looks like. Because some people say, I would like to list 5 properties a month. Okay, that's great. What's the problem? That's future tense. Your brain does not calculate, compute, or understand future tense. It only understands present tense as if it's already happened. Now, I could spend lots of time on examples of this, but I want to just keep it to the point on this. So if you wanted to just get right to it, you would say, I am grateful, or I enjoy listing, present tense, 5 houses a month. Don't worry about the how right now. We're going to get to that in subsequent sessions. I enjoy, or I'm grateful, I love, whatever you want to put in there, whatever is, works for you. Listing 5 properties a month, 5 homes per month. Okay. So whatever the limiting beliefs are, and there can be more than one, right? But write out the things that come to your mind. Then we're going to write an affirmation that takes the limiting belief, shatters it, and puts it into a new empowering belief as if you already have that, meaning you are already listing 5 properties a month. You're not going to, you are. You've already done it and you're continuing to do it. That is how you're reprogramming your brain. This is, guys, I'm just sharing this with you. This is neuroscience. This is not Victor's opinion. This is well-researched, well-documented, and this is how it works. And so we're really kind of just bringing the house on the mindset in terms of, it might sound very simple, but this is fairly complicated stuff. So in terms of how it all works. But for the point of this, what happens is we want to write this affirmation 25 times per morning for 30 days, or 25 times per evening for 30 days. On average, it takes my clients about 15 minutes to do that. So check this out. If you can take 15 minutes a day, because we all have morning routines or nighttime routines. Some serve us, some don't. Find time, make time, prioritize time to write this affirmation 25 times per morning or evening. Whenever you do your daily planning, your weekly planning, doing that for 30 days. What will happen? I can give you example after example after example. Let me give you one that it was just not too long ago. Robin actually knows this gentleman. But a guy I coach, and he was like, Victor, man, I blew it. I've done this, a couple different times. I hired a bunch of agents, nothing works out, et cetera, et cetera. So we went through a lot of things, and then we finally got through what the issues were, not important, but we got through the issues, and then we came up with his affirmation. Okay. He's a retired cop. He's like, this touchy-feely stuff, Victor. He's like, man, it's not me. I just don't do this. I said, give me 30 days. Give yourself 30 days. Give yourself the gift. And if it doesn't work, we'll gladly refund your misery of how not to run a team. Right. So we have a great relationship and we're great friends and all that, after years of coaching together. So we can just talk like that to each other. And it's with love and respect, always, for sure. So anyway, he said, all right, I'm going to do this. He did this for 30 days. He goes, I'm only doing 30 days. And I would talk to him every week and I'd say, how's it going with that? He goes, I hate it. Okay. Second week, I don't hate it as much. Third week, it's not terrible. Fourth week, I hired 3 people. Oh, okay. Within the next 60 days, I think it was, I think it was 60 days. Yeah, by the end of the year. But 60 days, he had hired 10 of the right agents. And he is the #1 team in his market right now. So that's the power of going from, I've tried this, limiting belief, doesn't work, limiting belief, can't find the right agents, limiting belief, they're lazy, limiting belief, they don't follow instruction, limiting belief, on and on. Boom, man, he had this stacked of all the reasons this isn't going to work. And now he's #1 in his market with a killer team. So that is the end of the slideshow, guys. So Robin, we've got the part where, let me just stop sharing the screen so I can see you guys again.
So do you mind if I ask a couple of clarifying questions?
Of course.
Okay. Is it important to clearly identify all the limiting beliefs before you write the affirmation?
Yes, I think yeah, thank you, Robin, for clarifying that. So yeah, like I said, write out everything you can think of, right? And come up with so look at the priorities, right? Because the first thing that comes to your mind might be the most important thing to do, to attack first. And I also highly recommend to tackle one thing at a time, reprogram one thing at a time, because it's quite a process your brain is going through. Consciously, it's very difficult. Subconsciously, that's easy. It's just waiting for the command, because once the command is in there, we got it. And now we're rolling. But yeah, so let's say there's, 1, 2, 3, 4 limiting beliefs that come up. Here's the question you ask. If I were to reprogram one belief, if I could reprogram only one belief and one belief only, which one of these beliefs would move the needle? Which one of these beliefs would move the needle to my goal? So that's how we prioritize them. And then once we've reprogrammed that, we move to the second one. If there was only, now we have a list of 3 because we already got the one, nailed it. And now we've got, okay, that's going. Now we've got that program running in our mind. All right, now let's get the next one on board. And if of the last 3, if there's only one belief that I could reprogram that would move the needle toward goal, what would that be? And you continue to ask this question and attack them in 30-day increments.
Okay. I love that because I have a goal and I have a lot of limiting beliefs around that one goal. And I've been writing affirmations for long enough that I could bust out an affirmation around that goal without identifying every single limiting belief. Right. So, they're always the same. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough resources. I don't have good enough scripts. I don't have the right phone numbers. I could, but I could not do all of that and just do the affirmation. Is that okay? Can I just write the affirmation, do the affirmation, and move forward?
It's the first step. So what happens in this, Robin, is that as you tune into that frequency, the high frequency of abundance, and you're stating the affirmation as if you already have it, not a goal I'm setting, but something I'm doing, something I have, something that's on board.
Yeah.
I have X amount of whatever, right? And I enjoy it. And I enjoy doing this and hiring or listing or whatever it might be, X amount of people or X amount of listings per month. Some people it's closings. I enjoy closing, 7 sales a month. I'm grateful to, right? What happens is you turn into that frequency and all of a sudden you're like a magnet and you start attracting that into your life. Believe it or not, it's stuff that sounds weird. Agent will call you. A seller will call you. Past client will call you. All of a sudden, magically, the person that can get you the list appears because you looked for it. And he's like, oh yeah, I got that. Like, I've been looking for 6 months for somebody to help me with this. And I talked to you for 30 seconds and you can help me with it. Yeah. What was the difference? You didn't believe that somebody could help you with it before. And now you do. And so you attracted that person. It's supernatural almost how it works, but it is incredibly powerful. But here's the thing, guys, what's going on in your lives anyway is already supernatural. Why not design it? Because a lot of us, okay, let's put it this way. A lot of limiting beliefs come from childhood, right? We're not good enough. We're not smart enough. We're not pretty enough. We're not whatever enough. We're not skilled enough. We're not experienced enough. We don't know the market well enough. We can go on and on and on about a million different things of what we don't believe. That holds us back massively. And so we're fighting with this little bitty weak conscious mind and our puny little fists, no matter how big they are. And we're fighting against something so much more powerful. There's no way. It's like, us trying to fight a T-Rex. Not going to happen. So we got to tame the T-Rex, reprogram the T-Rex, and then have that unleashed on what we want.
It almost seems too easy, too simple to yeah.
Well, think about it this way, Robin. Okay. Well, think about what's going on currently with you. You've got programs running right now. Yeah, they're easy and they're simple and they're locking you down.
Yeah. Right?
They're preventing you from the greatness that you seek. So you already, you're not creating something, the system, the operating system's already there. That's the way it works, regardless of whether it's a limiting belief or an empowering belief. The goal here is you're not changing the system, you're changing the belief, which changes your energy, which changes the action, which changes the behavior, which changes the results, and it tracks that into your life. Now, strategies are going to come partly just from being tuned in, for sure, but then we're also going to cover the strategies that we're talking about in this course as well.
Okay. Yeah, that was my next question is, if I've always been told if the why is big enough, the how will show up, right?
Right.
I just have a hard time making the why big enough because my life is fairly comfortable. So
Yeah,
I get stuck in the comfort of my own life, that it's very hard for that why to get big enough. So I'm always working on the strategy, the how, you know what I mean? I'm trying to manipulate all of that, which I know you're not talking about in this class, but yeah, that was kind of my next question. So
yeah, well, we're getting to that. Sure. Are there any other questions? I don't know if people are in chat or if they're in a different venue or what, but are there any other?
I had a quick question.
Sure.
Yes.
Is that
I was wanting to, my name's Aaron. I apologize. I'm getting the car, and so I've been on mute. Don't have my video going. So thank you for all this, by the way.
Absolutely. Aaron Holly, nice to meet you.
Quick question. So the limiting belief, is that something I would write out one time, or I write that out each morning as well?
You would write that out 25 times per morning for 30 days.
The limiting belief.
No. Oh, I'm sorry. The limiting belief. Thank you for clarifying, Aaron. Yeah, very good. No, the limiting belief is once. Yes. The new.
Okay, and so for somebody like me who might be hearing this broad message, and all of a sudden I'm feeling slightly overwhelmed, right? I'm a brand new agent, so I'm trying to do things in the business. And then also, like, all of a sudden my mind starts racing. Like, I have things like that in possibly my marriage and being a father. Like, is it crazy to try to tackle like one of those phrases for each of the components of my life, or should you just focus on maybe one of those is more important than real estate, or like, you see what I mean? Is trying to do too much crazy, or just write a statement about all of those, an affirmation about all of those pieces of my life, and just get going?
So here's kind of an idea. I like your direction. I like the way you're framing this. So what comes to my mind as you're talking, Aaron, for you, is that kind of like across the top of the page, there would be like the limiting, and you could be column wise too, better rows, but across the top of the page, I'm thinking like, all right, here's the limiting belief. And then below it, what is the empowering belief that you want to reprogram, and the as if present statement. And then you can go ahead and do that, because you're really just doing the antithesis of the limiting belief for each one of the limiting beliefs, and then putting it into an affirmative as if present affirmation. So you can, I think, identify all of the limiting beliefs and then the affirmations associated with reprogramming. I think the risk, and what I've found to be the case, I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just saying I find it from my clients' feedback, because they ask that question frequently. It's a great question, by the way, Aaron. They ask that question frequently. And what I've found is it gets to be too much. Not to say it can't be done, but it's just, I want to set you up for success. And think about it this way, Aaron. Let's say you have 4 limiting beliefs. Okay, just you, dad, new agent. I forget the other 2 things you said, right? But you've got these 3 or 4 things and that you're concerned with. And you've got limiting beliefs around, you're feeling overwhelmed. 30 days times 4 is 120 days. You can reprogram all of that in a little over 3 months, 4 months, what it comes out to. So just think about how much you can accomplish in a 4-month period versus trying to squeeze it together and condense it like it's a zip file or something. It's too hard. Give yourself a little bit of space. I know we want to do it all right now. I want a perfect marriage. I want to leapfrog. I want 5 years of experience. I want to have listed 100 properties right now, right? I want to be a better dad. I want you right, and all of that. So we want all that right now. Of course we do. That's the way we're wired. That's human nature. But I would just suggest that lay that out, go in order of your priorities in your life and your business, and only you know that. And then follow your gut on that, and then take them one at a time and start a new one at the end of 30 days.
And I think that makes sense, Victor, because if you're trying to program your brain needs to be fully focused on that one thing, right? And attracting the things around that are going to change that. And really, like, that makes sense.
Well, it's it's what works, Robin. I mean, I've done it so many times with so many different people, and that's the result. That's what happens. So
yeah, but I think was such a great question from Aaron, because anyone who's a really high D is going to be like, yeah, let's roll. Yeah, you know what I mean? Right. Like, thanks, Victor.
Yeah, that's
20 of those, man. Let's go.
Aaron, I'm with you, Aaron. I'm with you, Aaron. I'm a 99D and a 99I also. So yeah, I get it. Kick down doors and go get it done. Yeah, man of action, Aaron. I like it. You're going to go places, kid.
Well, Victor, in the last few minutes that we have, I know that you have done a lot of DISC training with me in the course of our coaching relationship. Yeah. And it's made a huge difference in my ability to both work with buyers and sellers, as well as identify the kinds of admin, buyer's agent, those types of things in my life. I know that you had said that you might be willing to do something around the DISC profile.
Yeah, we can do that. I'd be happy to, for sure. I want to help, however I can. I want to make sure that, our group that comes to this gets everything and more than they could ever ask for. So I can have Mona send out a DISC link for people. And what I will do is offer a free debrief with that. So we would just do a one-on-one debrief. And then I'll tell you a little bit more about you. And maybe you're familiar with the DISC, but I'm pretty sure we can take it to another level. We'll level up and see if we can take something really cool. And one of the ways I like to use the DISC very much, just so you know, is I'll ask you a few questions about you and what you want to do and accomplish. But then based on your communication style, which is what DISC is, based on your communication style, we can kind of customize a little program for you around your strengths. So we, again, we're using leverage in every possible way with affirmations, with DISC, with your communication style, with your likes, dislikes, beliefs, limiting beliefs. Know it quickly, and then we can put together a little program for you that you can use. And that would be complimentary through Robin.
Well, Aaron just put in the chat, he has no idea what the DISC is. Can you take just 2 seconds to explain it?
So yeah. So basically the DISC, without giving you a history lesson, Aaron, what it is you get a series of questions. It'll take you about 15 minutes to complete. And it just has you rank categories in terms of likes and dislikes. Based on that, your answers, what it does is it transposes your answers over the, I don't know the current number, but it's a lot. It's millions and millions and millions of people of what they answered the same questions like, and then it will match you with those people and what are the common communication tenets in there. So for example, just to give you something super simple, if would you rather be home and read a book versus go to a party? Would you rather, right? So it gives you questions to kind of make you evaluate what you really prefer and how you like to interact with the world. It'll give you a natural communication style when you're with your family and friends, trusted ones, loved ones, and it'll give you an adapted style when you're at work or being observed. And then we can look at that together. I can give you a lot of insight into maybe why you communicate and do the things you do, how you will better and more effectively communicate, how we can close more business together, how you can connect with people on a higher level, how you can make sure that when you're communicating with somebody that you cement that relationship. And it's not manipulation, it's just understanding how to speak different languages. So the first thing is you have to understand how to speak your own language. You have to learn how to speak Aaron. The second thing is you have to learn how to identify the other people that you're speaking to. So if you're on a listing appointment or you're with a buyer and you're speaking with them, how can you classify them? If that's a D, that's an I, an S, or a C, right? That's basically a domineering D, like Donald Trump's a D, for example. Love him or hate him, not a political discussion. And then an I is like, more of an Oprah, like it's just, loving and social and hugs and kisses and, all that. The S's are very steady, right? In terms of pace and well, they're steady. So the higher the S, the more steady they are. They like systems. They don't like to invent things. They like to follow things. They're more introverted, but they're people focused. Each one of these has their own communication styles. And the C has to do with basically compliance. And that typically will be people that like checklists. The higher the C, they prize accuracy. So if we're talking to an engineer, perhaps that prizes accuracy, what do we say to him or her that's different than what we say to a high D? Two totally different approaches. so buyer or seller. What do we have? You know, what does the I want? What does the S want? How do we communicate with that one? So that it's extremely valuable. It will help you make a ton more money and convert a lot more conversations into contracts and clients.
Well, Victor, I am so grateful for your time. I always like to start on time and end on time because I respect people's time. So I appreciate this so much. I have coached with you for years, and I literally have a whole page of notes. So I'm going to take the next 15 minutes, and I hope everybody does after watching this replay, to just write some limiting beliefs and come up with my affirmation that I'm going to write for 25 times. And you have my commitment for the next 30 days to write my affirmation. And I hope others do as well, because I'm ready. I'm ready for a change. I'm ready for my life to change. And that's why I'm on this call. And I'm super grateful for you.
Make the decision and do it, guys. My pleasure. Have a great one. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thanks, Victor. Thanks, Mona. Bye.